Folks, I am on fire today. Let me tell you, I have got a whole thing I need to present, so I hope I can deliver it to you. But I'm telling you right now, this is one of those things you're going to want to share this with all your friends and family, because let me tell you, it's coming. So the first thing I want to bring up to you guys today is our favorite Marxist, Tedros, who is the head of the WHO. And let me tell you, I don't know where this guy gets off on this sort of stuff that he's coming up with here. But here's the headline of this article. It says, it's time to be more aggressive in pushing back on anti-vaxxers as MSM links excess deaths to the jab. Well, isn't that the truth? I mean, just, what is it, last month, we got Anthony Fauci on the stand, who basically is now admitting the 6-foot distance, he made that up. He's still denying that this came from a lab, and yet all the evidence is pointing to it. And he's also saying that masks don't work, but thought it would make people feel good? Are you joking? Listen, I lived through what was going on down in Melbourne. It was absolutely insane. You people don't even know the half of it unless you were actually there. What you saw on the TV was nothing. But I digress. Now let me get back to this Tedros guy. He is absolutely, this is absolutely classic gaslighting. He says, I think it's time to be more aggressive on pushing back on anti-vaxxers. Unbelievable he would go in and say this. And here's another part of it in saying that anybody who promotes a different perception of reality and questions the authority of experts must be considered more dangerous than terrorists in 2024. You've got to be absolutely joking. Folks, this is unbelievable. I'm going to tell you, this guy is absolutely dangerous. And he's at the top of the food chain, so to speak. You don't believe me? Well, let me tell you. Watch this video here. Hear from the horse's mouth.
But you know the serious challenge that's posed by anti-vaxxers. And I think we need to strategize to really push back, because vaccines work. Vaccines affect adults, and we have science, evidence on our side. I think it's time to be more aggressive in pushing back on anti-vaxxers. I think they use COVID as an opportunity, and all the havoc they're creating. Maybe that's one of the messages also I would like to include to whatever I have said.
This is absolutely unbelievable, this guy here. I don't even know where to go with this, but the fact of the matter is that they're trying to bring this in. In fact, this just happened, what was it, last week, that WHO came across and said that somebody died of the bird flu. And within a few days after that, what happened? It was the health minister of Mexico that basically, came in and he said, no, he didn't die of bird flu. What he actually died was from something else. Well, now, finally, because of this situation, the WHO is basically acknowledging, okay, hold on a minute, maybe it wasn't bird flu. Talk about backpedaling on there. And yet, based on what I just showed you right here, eventually, if it goes forward, all this sort of stuff, by even talking about this will then become illegal. In fact, in Australia, what they're even doing right now is they're basically turning the laws, because I'm sure of what they learned during the first COVID go around. They're turning the laws now here so that whatever these organizations deem as, factual, going against it then becomes a crime. And then in Australia, and I know in other countries around the world, they're changing the laws to where it's now this misinformation law. And if you go against it, they can come and arrest you. Folks, this is exactly what they did in Nazi Germany in the 30s. Wake up. Now, of course, it begs the question, well, they're going to come and try and do all of this sort of thing. Well, how will they enforce it? Well, folks, if you haven't been paying attention, I have to wonder now, is this what's going on in the United States, where they're letting all the people in through the southern border? Because what's actually happening is that several of these military-aged men are actually being funded by NATO. So then what happens? This becomes the enforcement branch to enforce the WHO initiative. Folks, if you don't think it's happening, I mean, even Redacted just did a piece the other day talking about how there's bids out now to build concentration camps in every single state of the United States. Folks, they're already here in Australia as well. I know there's one up in west of Brisbane there. There's one down in Melbourne. And I'm pretty sure there's one in Sydney too. And who knows in Western Australia? I'm sure one of you people can tell me. Folks, this is happening. It's happening right now. And if you don't believe me, let me tell you, you got to listen to this, because this is a piece of a text message that I was just sent just the other day. This is very alarming. Here it is. The globalists and powers that be are getting geared up for COVID 2.0, plain and simple. It's just that the bird flu title is the name of the vaccine jab push. And Australia has created the vaccine for the H1N1 bird flu. Australia has done this with the WHO and Gavi and non-governmental organizations. The company, CSL, is the culprit, and it's mRNA, of course, or it's an mRNA vaccine, of course, which really isn't a vaccine. The virus name is designed, and they are going to try and be a burden to the world again. Note, there are already multiple strains out there which they are bunching together as culprits of death to feed the fear. But this is the method they know will get traction. But this is the first virus since passing the IHR amendments. This will most likely be a major component of breaking the economic back of the Western world too, because the expectations of the WHO is to have each country spend billions. Plus, any lockdowns will cripple countries faster and with more devastation. And apparently there is no need to have some cases fabricated, and they will substitute this for the common cold. Unreal. Australia and New Zealand will feel this first. Then as winter rolls around for the Northern Hemisphere, it will take off. But all this will happen with the WHO's little treaty enforcement, of course. This information comes from two people that were recently in Geneva at the WHO-WHA assembly, and one of them used to work for the WHO on the inside and knows or has access to the movements and information around the WHO's intent and plans. But as mentioned, this will need a little more propaganda fuel to secure a Plandemic 2.0. Folks, I take this seriously. I got fed so much information, but this is one of those things, and of course, because I know who the source was, this is one of those things that I see as valid. And just the fact that I'm showing you all this stuff, we're kind of seeing just the earmarks of kind of what they did before. Here we go again. In fact, if you would recall, probably about a year and a half ago, you had Bill Gates visit Australia here, and you had Anthony Albanese, our prime minister, basically go and visit Bill Gates to kiss the ring, if you know what I mean. So I guarantee you within that meeting, what was basically said was talking about exactly this and how everything was going to get smoothed over. Folks, this is happening. Now, as much as this whole situation, I am being an alarmist about, and I'm being very forthcoming with this and very assertive about this. I will admit that. But also, too, my point of being like this is because of what I went through and how obvious it was to me. By now, I'm hoping that everybody has woken up to what's going on. But when I was having a conversation just the other day, and I want to share this with you, because in this conversation with some friends of mine the other day, what ended up happening was this person said to me, we need to fight this. I agree. We need to resist this. But what I was quickly reminded of in that moment was Daniel 2. And most specifically, Daniel 2, 40 through 43. And I want to read this to you so you understand kind of my take on this. Because again, you go back to Matthew 24, Jesus talked about how, plagues and things like all this calamity that we're seeing, wars, rumors of war. This is all part of what we should be expecting Of course, I don't think we were expecting any of this to be man-made, but this is what we should be expecting right before the return of Jesus. But here's how I want us as Christians to approach this whole situation. Reading out of Daniel 2. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others. Just as you saw that the feet and toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom, yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay. So the point I brought up to this person in that moment, in reading and citing that passage right there, I think about this, the statement that this person made, which was, we need to fight this. Well, iron is very hard. And yes, it is brittle, if you know anything about metallurgy. But iron is very hard. And my point that I made is that you're not going to be able to necessarily fight this. If you go head to head with iron, it will break you. However, we are clay. And what I mean by this is that when the iron comes, when the force comes, we can pivot. It means that using the given circumstances that are coming towards us, we can pivot, we can get out of the way. We can, the iron will press upon us, and yet we will just get out of the way. And I believe with God's protection, because at the end of the day, what God wants from all of us is to spread the gospel to as many people as we possibly can. That is our job. That is part of the Great Commission. While we're here on earth, it's going to get wilder and crazier and things like this. I mean, this is just one facet of the things that I'm seeing right now. I'm also seeing economic calamity. I'm seeing wars. All of this stuff is happening at once. But if anything, and this is really the reason why I do these videos, I want to motivate you. I want to encourage you, because all of us need to be talking to as many people as we possibly can in whatever way that we think we can, or whatever way that the Holy Spirit even motivates you. Folks, that is my word of the day. That is everything I'm trying to give you here, just to encourage you. Please go out to the masses. I don't know how much time we have left. I mean, I could put a date on it, and I guarantee you, I'd be wrong. Then you'd probably stop watching me. It's okay. But look, folks, I just want to encourage you, go out there, talk to people, because really, the only thing you're going to be able to take with you are the people that you reach, and that's it. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope all this makes sense. And look, if you like what I had to say today, please like this video, send it to other people. That'd be really great. And if you want to hear more of the content, I would, of course, appreciate a subscription. Not a numbers game for me, but we're almost at 5,000. That'd be a great thing to even hit. Unbelievable how this has happened. With that said, folks, I hope to see you all next time.